staff will help you choose the perfect carpet at the new look Des Kelly Interiors.
Some cloud, mist and drizzle in places overnight, lows of 8 to 11 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball.
In association with Air. Don't miss live and exclusive Premier League action this month on the Air Sport Pack.
This is News Talk.
How's it going? You're welcome along to Tuesdays Off the Ball. Nathan with you this evening. So we've got a busy show. We've a legend of Merseyside with us this evening. 7:30. Tony Bellew is going to be on the line ahead of his rematch with David Hay. Sean O'Halpin is going to join us in studio just after 8 o'clock. He's going to give us his thoughts on coaching, keeping young players in the game. Tuesday night, League of Ireland with Stewie Byrne and Dan McDonnell as well. There are a lot of issues to get through behind the scenes. Shell's today making new plans for the future. A new young 26-year-old CEO that we're going to be talking about.
There's nothing to make you feel as inadequate as a 26-year-old being the CEO of anything.
I know, it is quite depressing.
Yeah. How old's the lad at Wigan, chairman of Wigan?
Yeah, but that's different. Is he not the grandson?
Oh, yeah, he's Dave Whelan's grandson, yeah.
But this is like a new appointee to Shell's.
This guy ain't related to anybody. He's just brilliant at 26.
Fair play to him.
Retired, or has stepped away from playing, was playing in the League of Ireland and has stepped away to run the club, which you got to be impressed with.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
On the football show, we're going to talk about Paris Saint-Germain, maybe some of the financial fair play issues they may face over the next couple of years, and also England's goalkeeping problem. And as well as that, if you don't like the content, of course, lads, you can, of course, always answer the off-the-ball survey, which we're going to start sending out after every show now, where you can rate us out of 10, because...
Is that not boards?
That's how forward-thinking organisations operate.
Can you imagine how it would go down with us? Oh, coming from the top.
Where's Joe?
Yeah.
Keep Joe off the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From Nathan.
Wow.
And McIntyre.
Richie,
why doesn't Nathan wear as many short sleeve t-shirts as Dave McIntyre?
Why does Nathan always wear a green jumper? Don't know.
Why do you always wear a green
many
jumper?
different green jumpers.
Oh dear, sorry.
It's just your colour.
It's just my colour. I just like it.
decided
I think
it's
it
your
works well on the telly, you know?
Yeah.
It gets too hot in here, so
why does Nathan drink green tea? Things like that. That's the sort of question.
We're getting very... I didn't think this was worthy of a conversation on air, even though our producer tonight, Enda, said you should have this conversation on air. You both like to have your pre-show cup of tea?
Oh yeah, and during.
Yeah. Is that regular tea? See, I'm not a tea drinker, I'm a coffee man.
Regular tea, yeah.
I'm a coffee man.
I'm a Lions man, gotta say that.
My soy milk. But if I drink tea, it's peppermint tea.
Possible tea bags, by the way. Barry's don't.
But both of you are tea.
I'm a Lions man.
I know Richie is a snob in every possible way of every possible thing.
That's not true.
No,
he's even a tea snob.
You are.
Basically,
why haven't I allowed to have peppermint tea?
Peppermint and green tea is... it's just...
I wouldn't have green tea in the evening because it's got caffeine in it and it might keep me awake.
Long story short, Nathan. If
I like a peppermint tea of an evening on the couch.
If tea has a prefix, it's not tea. What you're basically drinking is a dissolved XXX mint there in a glass. It's
and it's nice, and I like it.
Good, if you feel like it,
that's grand. If you like it, that's grand.
Do we have any peppermint tea? I never drink tea actually in here. I just get my coffee.
I'm pleased for you.
Have we got peppermint tea on offer to off-the-ball staff members?
No. Why would you have that?
Yeah.
So it would make me happy and settled as I go on air. So at the survey we're talking about anyways, this has come out in the last couple of hours. Everton. Oh, somebody's getting fired. Somebody thought I guess this is a very forward-thinking organisation type thing to do. Let's get some feedback from the fans. So they've sent out a survey to one of the supporters groups asking for their thoughts on management. Not just the management of the club, the players, those who run the club, everything. So this is what they were asked. To what extent do you agree or disagree with the following statements? And then you're asked to rate them between 1 and 10. Question 1. Do you agree or completely disagree with this statement? I have a high level of trust in the current senior leadership team at Everton. Example, in making the right decisions for the club's future. So who's that? That's Steve Walsh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Out of 10, Kev?
Steve Walsh. Well, but he's not done a good job since he's gone into
so out of 10
recruitment-wise. No, I don't need to rate it. You don't need me rating. You do not need me rating here. No.
No. Need to sit in the fence.
I'll never be allowed in Goodison again if I'm going to rate these.
I have imagine if you were there when this was on. I have a high level of trust in the current Everton players. Example, in being loyal and performing at their best for the club.
If that had come out when I was playing, thank God it didn't. That would have been goose totally.
It's a bit harsh, isn't it? In being loyal and performing their best, I would have assumed 99% of footballers try their best.
Yeah. But there is that one that's always thrown about. They're not even trying. They're not even trying.
Question 3, which is the killer. I have a high level of trust in the current manager and coaching staff of Everton. example, in making the right decisions to get the best out of the team.
Oh no.
2 out of 10.
Well,
Poor Big Sam.
there's not a lot of Evertonians that I've met over the last while who have been complimentary of Big Sam at the moment, so no.
And finally, I have a high level of trust in other Everton fans. Example, in being loyal and committed to the club. What if you're just a particularly paranoid person? I don't trust any of these people. Yeah. Nobody else is trying their best for this club except for me. What do you think Big Sam's going to think about that? And also,
I can't.
Do you think they're going to be making decisions based on this? Yeah. Is there a cut-off? All right, so out of 10, if he gets over 40, it's a pass. Maybe we keep him for the summer. If he gets over 7.
Yeah.
Wow.
But you do wonder with that, don't you? That's going to lead now. That could lead anywhere because, you know, some other clubs would probably get notions and think, I'll tell you what, we'll do this. We'll try this. And...
Not it won't, because every other club will have seen the backlash and how they've become a laughingstock because of this.
Oh, are they going to become a laughingstock because of it, though?
Oh, well, I wouldn't be in favour of that, Rich.
I know you wouldn't be in favour of it as an ex-player, but a lot of fans would welcome the input into the club and how it's run. And there are a lot of, for wanting to take an example closer to home, there are a lot of fan-run clubs over here that obviously consult their membership and obviously consult the fans in pretty much every decision that they make. So surely fans would welcome being involved at this level by a Premier League club of that level.
So instead of bitching and moaning, as you say, on fan forums,
no, I agree
actually
with you.
here's an opportunity to make a difference.
I think it's
constructive, yeah.
I think you're probably spotting that. I think other sides looking into that would criticise, but I think, yes, the clubs themselves or the supporters themselves, I'd think, well, they've been proactive. They are actually asking us for some sort of input on our club's future.
Should a well-run club on the pitch, that's performing on the pitch, care about what their supporters think in terms of the manager? Should the director of football not have enough? Should the owners not have enough confidence in his director of football and manager that they're doing a good job?
I think you've always got to respect your supporters, and it's not a corny throwaway line because they are the core of your club, the future of your club, and they're obviously the history of your club as well. So you've got to respect totally. No, I know what you're saying. You maybe got to have that single-mindedness where you've got to maybe think, well, I don't give a shite what anyone else is going to say or do to me. It's about me. But there has to be an element of care and attention and just, I don't know, just realising what your actual own supporters are saying about you as a club. I'm not necessarily saying you're going to take it all on board and you're not necessarily going to, maybe there's things you'll take on board you'll put aside, but...
Well, I guess if it's extreme, if they come back and Sam Allardyce gets, on average, 2 out of 10, they're looking at this thinking, well, and the supporters are getting, and the players are getting 8 out of 10.
Is there an indication as to how many people within that is it just are they just going to... I think
it was the supporters trusts.
Yeah, no, the Everton fans panel.
Okay,
capital F, capital P.
So do you know how many people would be involved in that survey?
Various supporters groups.
No. So again, but you'll get an indication, won't you? I mean, again, I go back to the point that there hasn't been too many positive things that's been said in general to me in passing. You know, whether you're getting messages sent to you on Twitter or anything like that. There's not been too many positive messages about the current squad of players and the management side at the moment. No,
they're not really ones to turn on the manager, are they? Everton supporters?
No, and I've been there recently as well. I've been...
Everyone's just fed up.
Goodison, I mean, I was at Goodison for the Merseyside derby, which was dreadful, and I was so disappointed with Everton that day, just for how they just didn't ruffle Liverpool in any way. They didn't have a go at them, and just to put Liverpool out the stride. And even at that game, I've heard it a lot worse. Certainly under Koeman this season, they were ferocious towards Koeman and the side that season, and even under Martinez towards the end of his reign as well, there was a little bit of that as well. So... no, in general, I think Everton supporters, they'd be one of the best, I think, for actual supporting the team and the manager, yeah.
We are here with Air, the home of Air Sport. Get amazing live sporting content free with Air Broadband. You can watch us on all our social channels on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope and all of that. Text in, Mr. Kilban. I watched a video of battles between Keane and Vieira today. You can talk all you want about how attractive City are, but the league has lost its edge. Too many players hugging and kissing before games. No genuine battles anymore. A lot of my mates feel the same. Pat in Leash.
I would totally agree with that statement. Totally agree with it. I think the game is lacking serious characters. You know, that pre-match talk before the game of a Vieira v Keane, whoever it would be, even going back to someone like Dennis Wise, somebody like who also would have been playing around that sort of era as well in midfield. You know, those real hard, and Steve McMahon, people like this that would have been playing, that would have been prepared to...
Kevin Muscat.
Graham Souness. Oh, no. I mean, yeah, he was a fullback, but I'm saying like midfield players, really ones that were in the thick of it. Souness.
Batty.
Yeah, Batty. Yeah, another one. You could.
Savage.
Yeah, well.
Come on now.
No,
Get carried away.
But I know, yeah, I totally agree, and I think that was part of the intrigue of actually going to the game. What was going to happen today? Will there be a red card? Will this go off between these two? Will there be a flashpoint? And I think the game is lacking for that. I think we've created. Teams are well coached now. I would personally think overcoached. You could argue with me that to the hilt, but I personally think that a lot of players are overcoached. And coaches would tell you, how can that be? But there are a lot of players now that are playing just within that system. Not so much at times you've seen those players now that are off the cuff. That little bit of flair that we've never seen, and that bit of an edge. That edge, yeah, where people might lose it.
What midfielder in the Premier League right now is the one who has that edge? Who's the one battler that?
Oh, come on.
Granit Xhaka.
Not at the level of Keane or Vieira.
See, all his bookings are like clipping people's heels and stuff like that, aren't they? Very few.
N'Golo Kante, Nemanja Matic.
Matic has got it at times.
Odiami.
I mean, you only need to look at Alonso at the weekend with that tackle that he did. He got it. But there are very few. You don't see it, do you?
Ander Herrera says our Manchester United supporting.
Ander
Herrera, come on.
Jonjo Shelvey.
He's got a bit of spark about him. To be fair, he's got a bit of character. You know, we'll criticise Jonjo. I think Jonjo Shelvey is a brilliant footballer. I think he's a class footballer, but he's got a bit of edge. That means he's not necessarily England potential, because he's got that edge to his game, and I think the game is lacking.
Dele Alli gets criticised for having that edge.
Yeah,
to his game.
I like Dele Alli. I think Dele Alli's an excellent player. And
the constant thing you hear about him and have heard about him for the past 2 years is, like, we're setting the quote unquote diving aside. The constant thing you hear about Dele Alli is, he needs to rein in that part of his game. He needs to curb that side of his temperament. And yet here we are having a conversation saying that that's lacking in players.
Well, England lives in a world of fear of Dele Alli getting sent off in a World Cup quarter-final.
Yeah, I think that's it. And you look at Beckham when he was sent off, and Rooney, of course. But how many times have we said that of Wayne Rooney over his career? Wayne Rooney needs to lose his edge. Look what happens. I've said it over the last few years. I watch him play and I don't see that edge to him that he used to have in training. Every single day, Wayne Rooney was on edge. And he had that when he was at Man United, when he first went in there. And that's why he's got all the goals that he's got throughout his career. And the last 4 or 5 years, I've not seen it. I've not seen that real intense person, I feel in general, like real intense player that's on the pitch. Comfortable, I don't know if you say that. You could do maybe to an extent. And his game is lacked because he hasn't had that real I say, passion, intensity about him, I suppose, yeah.
1 out of 10 for Wayne Rooney's performances this season on the Everton fan poll.
Was it? How can you say he's got 10 goals? I know he's not been at his best, but he's got 10 goals.
Taken off in the Merseyside derby in disgrace.
Yeah, but I do disagree with that anyway. You don't score 10 goals if you're a bad player.
53106 is the text number if you do want to get in touch. We do have a proud Everton supporter, Tony Bellew, coming away at 7:30, but we're going to start with Ulster, Richie.
Yeah, Ulster players have outlined their sadness at the departure of both Paddy Jackson and Stuart Olding. Both players had their contracts revoked at the weekend following the conclusion of an internal review. Ulster hooker Rob Herring read a statement on behalf of the Ulster players today saying they know Jackson and Olding will be successful both on and off the pitch wherever they go. Both players were acquitted of raping the same woman at Jackson's home by a jury in Belfast earlier this month. News reporters were this afternoon banned from this press conference, with Ulster saying they consulted what they called regular press conference attendees before making the decision. This was Herring's brief statement.
It is with a great deal of sadness that the players and pro staff learnt of this outcome. We know that the two boys will be successful both on and off the pitch wherever they go. As a group, we have to move on, and our full focus is now on Glasgow this weekend.
Well, how's the mood in the camp?
Yeah, look, it's obviously it's a bit of news that's out there now, and we've had to move on pretty quickly. We've got a massive game this weekend against Glasgow, who are a great side in good form.
Yeah, so that is Rob Herring with that statement on behalf of the players. Probably raises more and more questions. Is that a unanimous feeling amongst every Ulster Rugby player, amongst all the Irish internationals who are part of that? Do they have an issue with the way it's been handled by the IRFU, by the way it's been handled by Irish Rugby? Their use of the word sadness would suggest that they do. Also, the very fact that news reporters were excluded because they don't want any more questions. Well, I'm sorry, this story, it ain't gone away.
Yeah, but personally, I think I think that for the players to face questioning on that as well, I think that is a tough call. That is a tough call. You've got teammates there, and you know the way that it is. You've got 6 or 7, perhaps 20, potentially 20, 25 journalists in that room, all questioning you. You're trying to give the same sort of answer. You're trying to toe the line. You stray off that. All of a sudden, then you're criticised. You've got your mate ringing you up. That's a tough one. I think that's probably the best thing for certainly a player to do, for the captain. Release a statement, say your words, because post-match, after every game now over the next few weeks, it'll be trying to get a question, trying to get a line on this. That's what's going to happen.
Herring's not the captain. Rory Best is the captain.
Sorry, yeah, there you go. Well,
and
which again is why I think it does raise that question as to whether it is a unanimous feeling amongst everybody who's there at Ulster. It'll be interesting when we hear from Rory Best next. And
you might not hear from a player, like really hear from a player.
They're going to bring the shutters down on this. They're going to bring the shutters down on this now. That's what that statement is doing. What you want is, and we've heard Shane Logan yesterday, the CEO of Ulster, saying that neither player is more than likely going to end up back at the province. So from a questioning point of view, it seems as if they're done and want to move on, but sadly that's not their decision.
Yeah, I know.
No, and when Craig Gilroy returns in a couple of weeks' time before the end of the season, there'll be more questions and we'll have to see how Ulster respond.
Yeah, Tom Ryan, the new Director General of the GAA, insists he's not just a money man. He was speaking for the first time since his appointment to succeed Pádraig Duffy. The Carlow native has been a key figure within the association for several years, most recently serving as Finance Director. Ryan confirmed today that the extra games in both the hurling and football championships as a result of their altered structures would not amount to more games on TV. And speaking to our Will O'Callaghan, Ryan says their income from their current TV deals, including the one with Sky, are necessary for the games up and down the country.
We don't make a profit, or we don't generate a return out of it. Everything that comes in is spent on games and coaching, or is distributed by way of grants and so on. So if it is the case that the wider membership feel that we need to, and we should, and they want us to curtail in the arena of commercial undertakings, then you've got to cut back on your investments, and I don't think people genuinely would want that. Or the alternative, I suppose, is you increase ticket prices. I don't think people would want that either. So it's not the case of pursuing income for the sake of pursuing income.
So interesting that they say there's going to be no increase in the amount of games covered on television. I think it's 45 is what the current deal covers, down from 50 a couple of years ago.
Across the both platforms.
But there are 15 more games between the revamped football championship and the revamped hurling championship, and they're not just 15 extra games. They're going to be 15 of the best games, because they're Leinster hurling, Munster hurling, and they're the Super 8 games. So Sky and RTE haven't announced their fixtures yet. I'd be interested to see, does that mean there's less games from the early rounds of the championship, so that we get to see every Super 8 game and most of the games from the round robin in Munster and Leinster?
They can't. Well, they're going to face criticism whatever way they approach this, because if they do, as you say, potentially ignore the earlier stages of the championships, what they're going to be faced with is, oh, you're ignoring the quote-unquote lesser teams to focus on the bigger teams. And if they ignore the Super 8s or the latter stages of the hurling championships, then they're going to be said to be ignoring the more important games. So they're literally in a no-win situation, and this is something that they probably should have foreseen and probably should have discussed with both RTE and Sky when they're altering these championships.
Well, it is a totally new scenario for everybody, because I've the example of May 27th, where in hurling alone, and there's other games taking place that day as well, there's a possible Ulster football semi-final, Donegal or Cavan against Derry. But in hurling alone on that Sunday, as it stands, you've Tip against Cork, Clare against Waterford, and Galway against Kilkenny, all three of which in the old calendar would have been the headline act on that Sunday comfortably, and probably would have been up televised with a lesser game at the 2 o'clock game. Now one of those games more than likely isn't going to be televised at all.
Will they flick one of them to a Saturday?
As it stands, I don't think they are. The calendar suggests that they're going to be all on the Sunday, because Offaly Wexford is going to be on the Saturday evening. I just wonder, will they be annoyed that all the games aren't on the television? Would they prefer the games to be on Sky rather than not televised, or not televised at all?
Well, people are going to be annoyed.
That's what you just said.
Crucially, people are going to be annoyed.
Whichever way this goes, it will be. This will lead to a lot of anger on it further down the line, definitely, yeah.
From literally all sides of the argument as well. Everybody's going to be pissed off by it one way or another.
A couple of people saying Mark Noble for a battler. Scott Brown at Celtic.
Scott Brown, yeah.
Scott Brown.
Yeah.
Well, he lacks in talent, he makes up for in tackling. Johan van Graan says he's giving his injured Munster players time to prove their fitness ahead of Sunday's Champions Cup semi-final with Racing. Keith Earls is set to play a part in training this week, having not played since the Grand Slam seeding victory over England on St Patrick's Day. Jack O'Donoghue and Dan Goggin are two more who'll be assessed as the week progresses. Van Graan today sat down with their own Oisín.
Do you think fatigue could be an issue this weekend, given that you've had to go to South Africa and play 2 tough games? I know you made changes, but guys were maybe knocked out of their usual preparations for a Champions Cup semi-final or a semi-final or a big game.
Yeah, it's not something that you can control. We were the only team that were given this fixture list, so we just embrace it. The mind's a very powerful thing. We just use it as a positive. We had time together. Like I said before, we're building relationships and generally just talking about rugby and spending time preparing. So, we got back on Sunday afternoon. The guys were with their families for 2 nights, and we got back in this morning as usual. Started 0. It's a Champions Cup semi-final week, but we treat every week the same. Prepare well. On an off day, we'll get away from rugby, fly out on Saturday, and I think it's important not to play the game before it's actually being played on Sunday afternoon to make sure that we are ready to go on 4:15 on Sunday.
We're talking League of Ireland with Stewie just after 8:30. Dan MacDonald will join us as well, but there is live League of Ireland this evening.
There is indeed. The top 2 in the SSE Electricity Premier Division, both in action this evening. Leaders Dundalk take their unbeaten record to Markets Field to face Limerick, and Cork City play host to Sligo Rovers. And Oisin, a busy man today, is standing by at Turner's Cross.
And welcome to Turner's Cross for this SSE Electricity League Premier Division encounter between Cork City and Sligo Rovers. It's the second home game in 4 days for City, who beat St Pat's 1-0 on Friday night, but their display wasn't what you'd call overly convincing. Their manager John Caulfield, speaking in his programme notes, has said that it is taking them time to gel, and that will happen. They are getting better, they are creating more chances. He's also said that just 4 of the team that started on Friday night were regulars this time last season. Now, last season, Sligo Rovers actually came here and won under Gerard Little. It was one of his first games in charge. They want to repeat that trick tonight, and they will be flying high on confidence, having beaten Limerick over the weekend with, of course, a wonder goal from Rhys McCabe. Can he do the same tonight? Well, we'll find out. Kickoff is at 7:45.
Thanks for that, Oisin. Brighton 7 points clear of the relegation zone, but a really tough run in starting tonight.
Yeah, their hopes of Premier League survival will get a huge boost with a win at home to Tottenham. It's 4 matches away to Burnley, as you're saying, against Manchester United, Manchester City and Liverpool. Brighton start with one change from the weekend and that game with Crystal Palace. Matt Ryan starts in goal. A back 4, Bruno, Shane Duffy, Lewis Dunk and Gaetan Bong. Across the midfield, it's Anthony Knockhart, Dale Stevens, Baron Kayal and Jose Izquierdo, with Pascal Gross in behind Glenn Murray up front. For Spurs, Hugo Lloris starts in goal. Serge Aurier, Toby Alderweireld and Jan Vertonghen and Ben Davies make up their back 4. Victor Wanyama and Moussa Sissoko sit in midfield. In front of them, Christian Eriksen, Lucas Moura, Heung-min Son and Harry Kane. And Brighton start the night in 13th and on 35 points. And Chris Hughton even has been asked if they are already safe.
I think we will need points. It might work out that that's not the case, but I think we will need points. And how many, I don't know. And nobody, unless there's some genius around somewhere, nobody can tell me how many points those teams below us will get.
At Kev Richie?
Yeah, there's a new broom being swept, as you mentioned earlier on, Nathan, a First Division club, Shelburne. They've appointed former Bohemians and St Pat's keeper Dave Henderson as their new head of recruitment. He held a similar position at Bows and has also worked under Shell's legend Pat Fenlon at Hibs. He's played a role at Aston Villa as well. His appointment follows that of new CEO Dave O'Connor, just 26 as we mentioned, and new investment to the Talca Park club. And Manchester City striker Sergio Aguero says he's recovering from keyhole surgery on his knee. He missed their Premier League win over Spurs at the weekend and says he's focusing on getting fit, what he says soon. With City already confirmed as champions, it's expected he'll be back in time for Argentina's tilt at the World Cup in Russia. Meanwhile, City won't face a transfer ban after they were cleared of any wrongdoing over the signing of a South American teenager. They'd been taken to the Court of Arbitration for Sport over the arrival of Benjamin Garre from Argentine top flight club Vélez Sarsfield nearly 2 years ago. FIFA had already dismissed the complaint and CAS upheld that decision.
Thanks, Richie. Inter Milan players going to have their Twitter handles on the back of their jerseys for their game against Cagliari instead of their names.
The game is officially gone.
Oh, no.
The game is gone.
I've not even heard. No, please, no.
It's true. It's true,
Oh,
Kev.
no.
We'll talk about it more on the football show coming up after.
What football show?
9
Football's
o'clock.
dead.
The show, as it's going to be known from now on.
Oh, no.
Tony Bellew's up next.
Off the Ball on News Talk.
In association with Air. Don't miss live and exclusive Premier League action this month on the Air Sport Pack.
Think you've got what it takes to become one of the next Aldi suppliers? Down to Business and Bobby's Late Breakfast on News Talk have teamed up with Aldi in partnership with Bord Bia to showcase the best food and drink suppliers Ireland has to offer.